In Olympic weightlifting, medals are won based on who can lift the most weight within a given weight category. However, as strength and conditioning coaches, unless we're working specifically with Olympic or powerlifters, and I think generally the amount of weight being moved in the weight room is of secondary importance, as it's not how our athletes are being judged. With this in mind, I think it's important to make a clear distinction between the knee position for the sake of Olympic weightlifting and scoring medals in a competition, and the knee position within squatting when we're looking to develop athletic performance. So first and foremost, I just want to make it clear that I consider myself to be a novice when it comes to Olympic weightlifting, but as I understand, assuming that you don't touch the floor and have the strength to get back up out of the hole, the lower the position you can get into, the better, because it means the bar doesn't need to be lifted as high. So in the video you can see playing in the background, you can see that the athlete drops into that deep position in the catch. However, the knees are not in as an extreme angle or position as the example in the photo on Dan's slide. So, as Hayley discussed in her squatting lecture, forward translation of the knee is needed in order to keep the torso upright when Olympic lifting. However, again, this is where I think a distinction is important, because if we're squatting for athletic performance, by keeping the shin more vertical, we're able to direct more force effectively into the ground, and it means it's closer to things like cutting or jumping that we might see on the sports field or in a tactical environment. An extreme example of this would be a powerlifting style squat, and I believe that Louise Simmons even advocates athletes having a negative shin angle when doing variations like the box squat. The two squat cycles mentioned then are opposite ends of a continuum, if you like. So in an S&C environment, they provide different tools depending on what the coach's desired outcome is. In the picture behind, it isn't so much the forward knee position that concerns me as the extreme valgus position we can see. Now, to quote Ben Goldacre, I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but I was under the impression that valgus knee positions are pretty contraindicative, particularly when working with athletes, as generally, if we see that position on the field, it's going to be a potential precursor to ACL injury. Unfortunately, I don't have the notes I took with me, but I'm still psychologically scarred from some of the horrendous ACL blowout videos that Dr. Greg. So whilst I do think that getting into these extreme positions probably is an advantage for those athletes who are trying to eke out the last tenth of a percentage of their performance in order to win gold at an Olympic lifting meet, I would certainly not endorse it in my athletes. I must confess to buying into some aspects of John Welborn's CrossFit football programme, in that in the gym we're trying not only to get our athletes stronger, but to create universal movement patterns that are transferable and thus become our athletes' go-to solution when they're tired or when they're thinking about other components of their performance during the game. So by this, I mean that a back squat shouldn't just be an exercise in the gym, it should be the foundation of that athlete's default athletic position. By encouraging what I would describe as a more traditional knee position in the squat then, we can generate greater external rotation rather than internal rotation at the hip, which allows more torque and therefore stability to be created about this joint. Furthermore, by stacking the knee over the ankles, it puts less lateral shearing forces onto the knee, and then downstream, this also causes a more stable foot position and increased surface area contact between the athlete's boot and the ground, thus creating more movement options. To finish this presentation, I thought I'd play devil's advocate somewhat. I'll probably get thrown off the course for admitting this, but I've actually been to one of Kelly Starrett's mobility seminars. In this seminar, and as in his book, he was promoting an extreme varus knee position during the squat. Since then, however, I understand the coaching cue, knees out, has come under fire from several sources within the S&C community, most notably weightlifting coach Bob Tucano. This has created such controversy that CrossFit Inc. even filmed a debate between the coaches on the matter. Whilst the majority of critics seem to suggest that surely an excessive varus position must be as potentially dangerous as an excessive valgus position, Starrett seems to refute this by saying that a more knees-out position helps keep the foot more naturally pronated, as well as, and I quote, winding up the hip capsule to provide greater torque and stability. He goes on to support this by stating that even Sif and Louise Simmons make reference to shoving the knees out as far as they'll go when coaching the squat. So firstly, I just wanted to see what you guys think about this. Is it something you've tried either yourself or with your athletes? And secondly, for those of you with better anatomical understanding than me, does what Kelly Starrett's saying actually make any sense? Thanks for your time, guys.